On a Friday morning in early September 2022, a routine landscaping job near Gulf Road in Delafield took a harrowing turn. While preparing to secure a vacant lot, a construction worker stepped into thick brush and made a discovery that would launch a major criminal investigation. Emergency dispatchers received a call from the site near the Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin, where workers reported finding human remains in the woods. When investigators arrived, they encountered a female body in an advanced state of decay, left with no identification or personal belongings. The medical examiner faced significant challenges due to the condition of the remains. Although a cause of death could not immediately be determined, internal clues, specifically a surgical pin and a distinct dental bridge, provided investigators with leads. Within days, the Jane Doe was identified as 44-year-old Stephanie Pavlins. Her family had already been alarmed by nearly 3 weeks of uncharacteristic silence. Stephanie was described as private and soft-spoken, someone who struggled with epilepsy and anxiety. But her life had long been overshadowed by a turbulent relationship with 54-year-old Matthew Pahl. Relatives considered the relationship toxic and abusive, noting how increasingly isolated Stephanie had become after meeting him. As detectives began retracing her final days, suspicion quietly began to build. Investigators uncovered troubling details about the couple's dynamic. While Matthew had avoided financial obligations in court by claiming total disability, Stephanie had been the one performing demanding construction labor to support them both. Her private journals painted a picture of desperation, documenting repeated instances of physical violence and a growing sense of entrapment. Suspicion deepened when police realized Matthew had never reported her missing. Security footage from late August revealed a chilling timeline. On the last day Stephanie was seen alive, cameras captured her leaving their apartment, with Matthew following closely behind. They were supposedly headed to a morning medical appointment, but cell phone data told a different story. Instead of appearing at a clinic, both of their devices remained for 90 minutes in the exact wooded area where her body would later be found. Later that same day, surveillance footage showed Matthew returning to the apartment alone. He was carrying Stephanie's purse and water bottle, the same items she had been holding when they left together. Notably, he walked without the assistance of medical boots or crutches, despite repeatedly claiming severe physical limitations. When brought in for questioning, Matthew initially attempted to appear cooperative. But as detectives withheld key details and allowed him to speak freely, cracks began to form. He portrayed Stephanie as unstable, referencing alleged self-harm and medication problems. He even cast doubt on the paternity of their daughter. The interview shifted dramatically when investigators confronted him with surveillance images. They pointed out the impossibility of his account, showing footage of him carrying Stephanie's belongings home just hours after she vanished. His explanations changed rapidly, first claiming the purse was a bag of laundry, then suggesting he had discovered her belongings weeks later in his truck. When pressed about his phone's presence in the woods, Matthew became combative, accusing officers of twisting his words and attempting to frame him. Eventually, he demanded an attorney and ended the interview. Though the evidence at the time was largely circumstantial and the autopsy inconclusive, investigators continued building their case. Over the next year, prosecutors focused heavily on Matthew's digital activity. They discovered that he had begun searching online for Stephanie's obituary days before her body was discovered. While she lay in the woods, he was communicating on Skype with women in the Philippines, discussing plans for a new life and telling them that no one had seen Stephanie. On the day her remains were found, he accessed a police scanner app dozens of times, monitoring the investigation in real time. The trial took place in the fall of 2025. Prosecutors argued that the fabricated doctor's appointment had been a calculated cover for murder. They emphasized crime scene details, particularly the condition of Stephanie's wet clothing, which suggested a violent struggle. One theory presented was that she had been strangled with the strap of her own purse. The defense leaned heavily on the lack of a definitive cause of death and Matthew's alleged physical impairments. But the jury was not persuaded. After less than an hour of deliberation, They returned a guilty verdict for intentional homicide and hiding a corpse. Before sentencing, Matthew was given the opportunity to address the court. Rather than express remorse, he delivered a defiant and rambling speech. He labeled the trial a sham and compared the justice system to a fascist regime, casting himself as the true victim of a conspiracy. There was no acknowledgement of Stephanie's suffering. The presiding judge remained unmoved, describing Matthew's conduct as textbook narcissism. He observed that Matthew appeared to believe the entire world revolved around him, dismissing responsibility at every turn. Concluding that society needed protection from such a predatory individual, the judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. With that, the legal saga came to an end. Matthew was led away in handcuffs, sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars, ensuring he would never again exploit or harm anyone as he had Stephanie.